Computex 2026 coverage is proudly sponsored by Fantex, with support from ASUS ROG, NZXT, Haven, and Cooler Master helping us bring you wall-to-wall coverage direct from Taipei. Okay, so you guys have probably seen the news, obviously, that ROG is celebrating their 20th anniversary. Kind of showed you guys the history tour. I'm not sure which video goes live first. We did a neat, they have a wall here that shows all of their ROG products from the beginning till today. We know about the ROG RAM, right? We talked about that. And then we obviously know about the Crosshair 2006, which was a throwback board. This is the actual, what they're calling the Edition 20 of their components. So these components, everyone knows, it's gonna be very expensive because these are more so like commemorative pieces. They're very low quantity, and they're really for just kind of like the ROG enthusiast. So let's start with the power supply. You're gonna notice the colorways on all this is black and gold, which is really unique because the ROG colors are black and red and they always have been. But this is a 3,000 watt power supply that actually has a live power readout, on-demand power, and it's a remote connection, so you can actually use this ribbon cable and put it anywhere in your system, or you can put it on your desk if you want to be able to just see a live power readout. We'll talk about the 3,000 watts here real quick. That is for power supplies that are hooked up to a 220 volt system. In the US, we use a 120 volt, so that means that this power supply is going to be limited to about 1,600 watts, even though it's 3,000 watt capable. Now, if you have custom circuits in your home, or you're running it in a business or something that has a 220 volt circuit, that has 220 volt plugs, then you can actually get the full 3,000 watts out of this. In fact, a lot of people doing LLMs back in the US, or we're doing big cryptocurrency mining rigs, they had custom circuits put in their homes or their businesses to support high power supplies like this. But as you can see, it has black and gold braided cables. It's got gold cable sleeves right here on the 12 volt 2x6. So it's kind of an interesting product. This screen right here, which I showed you, that obviously has this remote connection here, is also magnetic with pogo pins, and you can take it off. You can actually put it right on the side of the power supply if you want, and then it will give you live readout there. So it's one of those things where you have some flexibility. It is definitely a premium product for an enthusiast. Nothing gets more premium though than obviously the 5090 Edition 20. So if we take a look right here, you can see we have a magnetic screen which has 4 pogo pins right here, and it's a matte screen. It's got a waterfall effect because we know now that like curved screens are kind of like the norm. Once curved OLEDs became a thing, you start to see this on AIO coolers and such. But this is magnetic just for the sake of kind of being a novelty. It's not relocatable. You can't move it somewhere else if you want it. It's designed to stay on the graphics card. But if we take a look at the aesthetics on this, you can see it's got what looks like a very similar light bar to the Astral, but it's gold. So because it's not powered on right now, we'll take a look at one on a built system. You can see that it just really leans into that black and gold aesthetic. The fan blades are very, very similar, if not the same, of what you find on the ROG Matrix. And you know the fans that are on the Matrix are different than what's actually on the Astral. Same thing with the pool fan on the backside. Now, if we take a look at the backside here, you can see that everything likes to fall. So if you look right here, you can see this is a magnetic cover that's just sort of a plexiglass. I believe it's plexi, I don't believe it's real glass. Which I already told them if I get my hands on this, the first thing I'm gonna do is thermal testing to see if this on versus off makes a difference on cooling. Because I'm curious now if this is potentially insulating some of the heat that the back of the card might be generating. Other than that, the only difference that this really shows versus the Matrix or even the Astral card is you have this USB-C plug right here, and this is actually to connect to the graphics card so that you can have control over the screen. So I think the aesthetics on this are actually really, really nice, but we are now, this is beyond boutique, if you will. If you thought the Matrix was expensive, that came out before the crisis when it comes to VRAM prices exploding and graphics card prices, especially 90 tier GPUs exploding because of local LLM engineers and coders. It's also extremely low quantity, so you can expect the price on this to be for the diehard enthusiast. Now here's the ROG 20th anniversary motherboard. This is just a display piece right here, but you can see we have this magnetic cover. These covers come with it. These are nothing more than pieces that you can actually use to put on display on your desk or something if you want. If you take a look right here, all these pieces that are on here are magnetic. So it's kind of interesting that all of this comes apart, but this is what you're greeted with. The motherboard looks like this when you unbox it because of the fact that it actually comes in a suitcase. I'm assuming it's gonna be like a Pelican case type of a deal, but even the ROG cover right here, which in the past was like a screen, it's just a gold and black with almost like a trace built in aesthetic piece right here. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what the unboxing experience is like on this, if I can figure out how to go back together. And then, like I said, these actually come with the motherboard. So these now become kind of like a plaque or something you could put on your desk if you wanted. Okay, so you'll see this toggle lock system here. Let's talk about this real quick. Because this is almost like a workstation style board, you have two full 16x PCI Express 5 slots right here. Now, you know ASUS has the tilt system, right? So you put in the graphics card, you put it in at an angle and slot it down. To remove it, you pick it up at an angle and pull it up. This, because we have two of those, they had to come up with a mechanism that allows you to lock and secure both of them and then be able to remove the graphics cards if you need to, especially if you have a device down here. It doesn't even have to be a graphics card, it could be an expansion card, M.2 card, any sort of expansion card for PCI Express. So if it's in the middle position right here, you can see if we look at the mechanism, they're locked. If you move it down, you see how this pushes over, you release the lock on the lower card. If you push it up, you release the lock on the top card or the top slot. So it's a pretty unique design that allows them to have now this quick release system for the PCI Express slots. And then for the M.2, they still have the same quick release function right here for the M.2, and then you have the same quick release on all the M.2 slots, all four of them right here. So I still think this is among the best solutions I've ever seen for M.2 maintenance, removing and replacing drives if you need to. And we recently used the BTF version of this, of the Crosshair Hero on our four-way water-cooled system. So that's actually a really nice mechanism because I showed you how with my vertical card, there's no way to get a screwdriver behind it if I need to get the drive off, but I can still get the cover and the drive out with only about an inch of clearance, which is really nice. Now, obviously, we've got their 20th Edition 20 AIO cooler right here that's on the motherboard, that's on display. This has got to be, I think, the biggest screen of any AIO in the market yet. It's got that same matte OLED display right here that's a curve, and it is absolutely ginormous. Now, obviously, this has a hinge on there, so you can change the viewing angle depending on where your system is. So there's two positions. There's here, which is kind of like a standard 180, and then here it moves about maybe 45 degrees, so you can change the viewing angle of the screen. Yes, this is all very niche kind of a product, but again, this is for like the ultra enthusiasts, like the enthusiasts within the enthusiast market. And then, obviously there's the RAM, we kind of passed by that real quick. You can see the ROG RAM, we talked about that on our news piece. Definitely not cheap, no RAM is cheap today. So this is we talked about this, the M-Die from SK Hynix in collaboration. It's about $880 for the kit. So it is a 48 gig kit, which means it's non-binary RAM. It's one of the reasons why its price is also pretty high too, not just because it's a niche product, but when you go to non-binary RAM, especially with M-Die, you go 24 gig sticks, the price goes up quite a bit, even versus 16 gig sticks. That's how you get up to 92 gigs too on some of these kits. But if you put it all together, this is what you get right here. So this is the GR20 chassis. As you can see, it's just an open chassis. It is aluminum, it's got lighting built in, and you can see everything, even though it's like an open chassis, it's nice and tucked away and hidden. You've got obviously the standard traditional mounting for the GPU, otherwise you wouldn't see the screen. They've got the power meter right down here. It's a really interesting case. You can see on the back side we have the AIO. So it's pulling air in through these vents right here and through some of the middle section. And then it is pushing air in and blowing it out through there. So it's a really interesting design, but you can see that this is definitely more like a trophy, if you will, than an actual system. All of these parts that you see right here, like obviously the graphics cards and the motherboards and stuff, they have a full lineup of product that won't be as expensive as this stuff, but I have to emphasize, this is not general consumer-facing product. This is not who it is geared towards. It is geared towards the enthusiast within the enthusiast market when it comes to ROG fan base. I know ASUS is a brand people love to hate, but you cannot deny that there's a lot of people who love ROG and have been around since the beginning. So I just like seeing companies take risks like this. You guys talk about like PC gaming is dying, PC components are dying. If we don't have companies constantly pushing the envelope and building stuff like this, I mean, what are we here for? I mean, all this stuff trickles down and turns into main consumer product over time in some way. It drives innovation forward, but you gotta start at the top and then you filter it down. And this is why stuff like this is fun to look at. I think if you're watching this video and you say, that's hideous, I would never want to own that, I think you're lying to yourself. I really do. I think you have to, at least at some level, appreciate the engineering that goes into this stuff, whether you can afford it or not. I'm gonna bring it back to cars. I love looking at cars I could never afford. I don't get mad that I can't afford them. I can still appreciate the way they're built and the engineering that goes into them without hating on them simply because they're out of my price point. PC is no different. And I think you guys are mad at the wrong thing. I think we know what's driving prices up, and I'm still appreciative that they're still coming out with this stuff, even though the market is crazy right now. So anyway, there we go. There's the ROG Edition 20 lineup. There's even more. There's keyboards and mice. We'll just do a quick show right here. This is a very heavy and very expensive keyboard because it is gold plated. So you don't need a gold plated keyboard. Nobody does, but they made it. And those that want it and can afford it, there it is. If you don't want this, look at the other stuff. It's all there for a reason. Same thing with the mouse. The mouse actually has a bit of weight in there too because this also has gold in the mouse. So cool stuff. Obviously it's not for everybody, but you can't deny it's fun to look at. All right guys, Computex 2026. Make sure you subscribe for all of our coverage, and we're gonna go on to see what the next thing is we can find.